Hi, this is Blake Angelos of Yamaha Corporation America here at Sweetwater to introduce you to Montage OS version 2.0. Now, this is the fourth major update that we've had for the Montage music synthesizer. Each time we add new updates in sound, control, and workflow, and this version is no different. Let's get into some of the cool new features that we've added. So let's talk about enhancements to sound. One of the coolest things about OS version 2.0 is the ability to load in Motif XF performances. When the Montage was released, all of the Motif XF voices existed as single part performances, but not the Motif XF performances. Well, now you have access to the performances from the Motif XS, the Motif XF, and the Mo XF. They load right in, and they sound way better. A lot of the reason they sound better is because of the enhanced DSP, the better effects, and the ability to just do a lot of cool control things, what I like to call montagifying all of these cool performances. So let's just check out some of the performances from the Motif XF, but now being played through Montage. So there you have it, some of the Motif XF performances playing through Montage. But now let's do something with those performances, add some stuff, montagify them. So let's check out this one called Winds and Strings. I used to use this all the time in the Motif XF to show some of the orchestral sounds, and they sound even better coming through Montage. So winds and strings. Well, what I like to do with this particular performance is I like to add it to a Montage performance that already has all of the superknob assignments. So I'll select this one that's just called Orchestral Brass Swell. And with this one, I have the superknob engaged with the FC7. So that's a Montage performance. Well, what I want to do is merge those two performances. So to do that, I just select an open part, and I'm just going to text search winds, because I know it's called Winds and Strings, so I'll find winds, and there's Winds and Strings right here. So now I've taken this orchestral brass swell, and I've just merged that Motif XF performance. So now I have this cool So what did I do? I took a Montage fully baked performance that has all the cool superknob assignments. I merged the winds and strings from the Motif XF, and guess what? I have one more part available. Now, if this were the Motif XF, I would have been done a long time ago, because all it had was 4 parts. I have 8 parts that are under keyboard control in the Montage. So what do I want to add to this last part? How about a timpani? So I'll touch that open part, part 8, and I'll just type in timp, T-I-M-P, because I know that timpani's in here. And here's the real timpani right here. So what I'm going to do with this timpani is I'm going to set the velocity limit, so it will only sound when I hit it very hard. So how do I do that? Well, there's 2 views of the performance in Montage. Now, we added this, I think, in version 1.5. or 1.6, I can't remember. But nevertheless, it exists in 2.0. So I have it sitting right here, orchestral brass well, parts 1 through 4, 5 through 8. This is a cool screen because it gives you an overview of the entire performance at the top of the performance, and it shows me where the key ranges are. And if I select an actual part, like part 8, it actually shows me how many elements are set up at that part, but it also gives me another level. In the previous view, all I had was the key range. Well, I also have velocity range in here too. So if I select the low velocity level and I touch it, you can see in the screen that it shows the velocity that's being hit as I hit that timpani. But what I want to do is set the keyboard and actually set that velocity 124 to 127. So now it will only sound when I hit it hard. Now the other thing that I want to do maybe to this this timpani sound is I have part 8 selected here, and I'm going to touch the reverb, and all it's going to affect is the reverb for just that part. If I select the top of the performance, it will change the reverb for everybody. But if I select a single part, it changes it just for that part. So I'll crank the reverb all the way up on the timpani, so it's huge when I really hit it. And it's only going to sound when I have the velocity at the top. So check this out. So I have the big orchestral brass swell that I'm bringing in. So what did I do there? I took the orchestral brass swell, I merged it with the Motif XF Performance winds and strings, and then I added a timpani. And then I velocity compressed that timpani and I turned up the reverb. I did it all in one screen. That's a great, easy workflow that Montage can do for you. It's really easy to use this keyboard. Here's another Motif XF Performance that's called IDM Jam. Now I've changed these to say BA, and the reason why I put BA after that is because I've already set up the super knob to be controlled by the FC7. So let's talk about that real fast. If you want the super knob to be controlled with the FC7, you have to set that up with these Motif XF Performances. So how did I do that? Just in the main performance page, when I press Edit, I'm at the very top of the performance with a common here. If I select a part, that would be selecting a part. So I don't want to be there. I want to be at the very top of the performance, common. Now, if you touch Control and you move down to control number, over where it says foot control 2, which is where my FC7 is plugged in, I have it set to super knob. I think it defaults to controller 4, but all the way at the top is super knob. So once you've done that, save the performance. And that's all I've done with this performance. That's why I called it BA. It just references that I have changed it so that the super knob, and I can see it here, can be controlled by the FC7. That's a good tip to know when you load these XF performances in. So what do I want to do with this? Well, with this one, I love this one because it's just always love that performance because it's kind of got this cool spooky sound. In fact, reliving these performances in Montage is really a joy. So make sure you get the Motif XF Performances. They're available at usa.yamaha.com as the download. You can download them all. Anyway, I have 4 parts in here. So the first thing I want to do is just add a drum part. So I have an additional 5 parts. It's just a matter of touching part 5, going to drums and percussion, and I'll grab one in here that's called Tease Hip Hop 2. This is one of the new performances that's been added. We've added some drum kits, we've added some new multi-part performances, and I'll show you we've added a single part CFX. But let's just start with this guy. Now I brought in the arpeggio that's related to this. So just adding a drum groove is really easy to do. But the other thing I want to do is this in my head sound has this, I'll mute out the drums, and there's this sound called in my head is what it is. So it's actually a voice from the Motif XF, and it's always playing. Well, I want to do something simple with the super knob on this one. What I want to do is I just want to control that in my head, and I just want to bring the volume up. So this is a new thing that we added to version 2.0, and I love this. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to select, in my head, I just select that part, and I'm going to go to the part settings, and I'm going to touch the volume in the part settings. So I've actually literally selected that part. That part is selected here. You see it right here, not at common level, but part level. Select that part level. It says right at the top, edit part for common, and there's the volume right here. So I'm going to bring the volume all the way down. Now, whenever a parameter that can be assigned is selected, this control assign light lights up, and it's saying press that button. So I'm going to press that button, and now it's asking me move a controller to assign that parameter to that control. Now, this has been available in Montage from the beginning, but we've added some new features. The first thing is I can instantly get to the motion sequencer or the envelope follower if I want. But we also added the ability to just assign the super knob just to that parameter. This is pretty cool. So I just touch that, it's assigned. So now, with the volume all the way down, you notice that in my head sound is not there, but if I bring up the super knob, you hear that kind of spooky, cool sound come in now. I can fade it out. Now I turned off the ARP so the groove's not in, but I'm going to bring it back up. I'm going to unmute my drum groove. So now I've got So what did I do? I had that performance, I added a drum groove, and then I just assigned a super knob control to one of the parts. Simple. Let's try something else. Now in OS version 2.0, we added 99 new performances, and I'll play some of those in a bit. But the first one I want to play is this one that's called CFX Stage. This is a single part CFX, and it's a great sounding piano. I mean, just listen to the piano. So a single part CFX, great sounding piano. So what do I want to do with this? I want to bring in two additional parts. One will be a string part and one will be a choir part, but I'm going to select the super knob to control those parts. So I'll be able to bring those in and out as I want. So check this out. What I want to do first off is just select a string. So I'm going to go to strings and I'm going to grab a single part string called ballad strings right here. Little tip for you, if you want to see just single part performances, there's an attribute right here in the performance that you can say single, and all I see now are single parts. It's a nice, easy way to get around and find things. So here's the ballad strings that I've added. So here it is. But I want to do something with that. So select the ballad strings part, and I just touch it on the screen here. Press edit. I'm looking at part 2, part settings, that volume parameter. I'm going to turn that all the way down, and then I'm going to touch the control assign and move the super knob. So it takes me right to the screen. You'll notice at the very top, it tells me exactly what it did. It assigned it at the common performance level, but it also assigned it at the part level. Before, you'd have to assign those separately, but now with this OS version 2.0, it allows me to directly assign that. It makes it so much easier to assign the super knob to these parameters. So now I'll get it all the way at the bottom here, and you hear just the piano. And then I'm bringing the strings in. So this is just a linear curve. I'm actually in the area where the control assign parameters, you can see them right here, and it says super knob, volume, fine. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my performance. I'm gonna add that ooh choir now. Now for this one, I'll use the text search because ooh choir, I know it's called ooh choir, so I'll touch OOH, and there's ooh choir. So you you hear the strings move in behind because I've assigned those a super knob. Well, I'm going to assign volume to this one, but I'm going to do something a little different with this oud choir. So again, press edit. I have that part selected. Go to part settings, volume, and I'm going to turn that all the way down to 0. Now what I'm going to do is move the super knob. I've assigned it now, that's on that part, but I'm going to change the curve type. So the standard linear curve is just up and down, so from low to high, that's it. But what I want the choir to do in this case is I want it to go up, and then at the bottom or at the top part of the super knob movement, I want it to actually fade out. So I'll change that curve type to triangle, and that's done by just selecting curve type, and I'll just touch triangle. Now there's parameters in here that you can move this around. So right now it would kind of go up at the very end, but I'll move that so it's just a triangle right in the center. I'll move the ratio down a little bit. So now when I touch this, you hear the oud choir come in, and the strings are moving up too. So you hear the piano come in alone. The strings will keep going up, and they just get louder until the end, but that oud choir comes up, gets loud, and then it falls off at the end. So you have this sort of cool dynamicism for your layers that you can control just with that super knob control. Now let's say right here, I love that. That's my layer setting. How do I just instantly recall that? Press Shift and touch a scene. Boom, I've now stored that scene. So if I have set right here, just the piano, I press scene 2, it instantly recalls it to, let's say I want my scene 3 to be just strings, piano, so shift, scene. So scene 2 has both of them together, scene 3 is just piano, and I can set scene 1 to just be piano if I want. Super simple. Easy to do, and you can really control this. And this is just the beginning. You can do a lot of changes to these curves and come up with something that's entirely unique and entirely your own. That's one of the great things about OS 2.0 is that it empowers you to get to these things much faster. Really, really great usability in OS version 2.0. So with OS version 2.0, you have access to the Motif XS, XF, and MoXF performances. But you also have access to all of the DX-TX libraries that's supported by the FM Cloud Converter. So the FM Cloud Converter exists on YamahaSynth.com. It allows you to take classic DX-TX voices and convert them to Montage. So here's an original sound from the DX7 ROM cartridge. This is Brass 3 is what it's called. It was converted using the FM Cloud Converter, and when it comes into Montage, it comes in very much like it did into the DX7. Now it sounds better in Montage because of the better converters and everything, but the DX7 had no effects, no filters, so it sounded no effects. So I'm going to montageify this and change some things. So first of all, I'll select the main performance, and it's on part 1 here, so I've selected part 1. Now the first thing you notice is that the DX7 was 6 operators. This has 8 operators. DX7 only used sine waves in the operators. Now we have different types of harmonic spectra that we can address too, and we have real-time control over that stuff. Plus with all the effects in here, well, you'll see what I'll do here. So first thing I'm going to do is select this part. I'm going to hit edit, and I'm going to select operator 8. That's a pretty important operator because it's a carrier. So I'm going to go over here and I'll select a resonant harmonic spectra. Now when I change that, it can drastically change the sound. But the great thing about Montage is that I can instantly set this to the super knob. So I have that selected, and a control assign lights up. So I touch control assign, move the super knob. That's been assigned now. Now that's a huge amount of range there. So I'm going to change the ratio of this curve type. I'm just using the standard curve type, and I'll bring it down a little bit so it moves it, but it's not as drastic as before. So that's the first thing. How about we add an effect to this? So I'll touch effect, and there are 2 insertion effects available on every part. These are both not active. They're both set to through. So I'll select one here and I'll grab one of the cool effects that we added in OS version 1.6. And how about the spiralizer? So I'll drop into that effect. And with this one, I'll change maybe the spiral speed. Now you notice that the control assign lit up there too. So I touch control assign, move the super knob. Now I have two things assigned to the super knob. I have operator resonance and the spiral speed. So how about we do one more thing and add a filter. So another thing that's different about FM voices in Montage is that you have access to 18 different filter types. And I'll grab one like this low pass filter, band pass filter. That's a pretty cool one because it's a dual filter. So I'll move the resonance up so you can see this happen, and then I'll change the distance and the cutoff frequency. So you can do some pretty cool things with these two filters and change the distance between the two peaks. So you get basically two filters moving at different rates. So I'm going to move the distance here and the cutoff frequency. Now the cutoff frequency is lit here, control assign. With this one, I don't know, how about we do it with aftertouch? So now I just press into the keyboard. We started with this. We ended with this. So much you can do with FM voices in Montage. So again, the ability to assign these controllers that fast, the super knob, these things that we've added in OS version 2.0, these classic FF sounds that can be brought to to today. It's pretty amazing what you can do with this instrument. So that's just one DX7 sound. So I just want to show what a fully baked performance using just FM sounds like. So there's a company called Easy Sounds that's a German company that does sounds for the Montage, and they have a pack that's called the Pure FM Experience, and this is one of those sounds. It's called Mr. Crush Hop. And this is 8 parts. Each one of these parts has its own assignment on the assignable knobs, and as I change, you see them change. So you have this massive amount of control over every one of the parts. So what does this sound like? Again, this is only FM. There's no AWM engine in this performance at all. Let me highlight a couple of the extra features that we've added in OS version 2.0. Well, one is just global A to D and global tempo. So with global A to D, what that means is that if I have my A to D set here, A to D input, and I run a microphone in here, and I want my voice to have the same effect from performance to performance, I want it to be global. Before, you had to set each of the A to D settings per performance, so that can be kind of a hassle. A global A to D allows me to set a master A to D setting, so when I move from one performance to the other performance, the A to D stays the same. And that's just under Utility, under the Effects settings, and under Effect Switch right here, global A to D, we added that. So now, once I set it, it sets the A to D for the instrument to always remain constant. So that's one of the things. Global tempo, if I touch the tempo area, there's an area right here that just says global tempo. Now what that does is it allows me to set a tempo here, and then if I move from one groove performance to another one, it will always remain the same. So you can move from one to the other, always have the same tempo. That's another really cool feature that we added to 2.0 that is very usable. So that's a brief look at the features in OS version 2.0. Now, if you want a full list, YamahaSynth.com, we have an article up there, tons of videos that will take you through all of the new features that are added in here. For example, I didn't cover custom audition phrases. You can set your own audition phrase in here, but that is definitely covered at YamahaSynth.com. So once again, this is Blake Angelo from Yamaha. If you have any questions at all about the Montage music synthesizer, don't hesitate to contact your Sweetwater sales engineer. Thanks for watching.